Hello and welcome to week 1 of GE 3510 Macroeconomics. My name is Bob Steele. I'll be your instructor for this mod. The contact information is up top with the name, email address, and phone number. Best way to contact usually is with an email, giving a couple times that we can meet and then meet at those times by phone and or screen share software. We have the familiar documents for each course, including the syllabi, the homework grid, and the welcome letter. We have this course overview, which will go over some of those familiar documents as well as the layout of Moodle rooms, so I won't spend a lot of time on that now. However, I do want to take a look at the syllabi, so let's look at the syllabi, which looks like this. We have the contact information up top again, so you can print this out if you so choose. Course description, I won't read it all, but this is going to be an introduction to macroeconomics, so we're going to talk about macroeconomic theory. The prerequisites for this course are none, so there's no prerequisites for this course. Learning objectives, I'll let you look through those. We're going to be discussing macroeconomics. When we look at the instructional materials, just be aware that this is going to be an online course, including online materials from a third party, McGraw-Hill, and you will need the McGraw-Hill software, the Connect software, to be set up to go forward in order to read the text and do much of the work. That's the first thing you got to get done. Make sure that we get that set up and running. If there's any problems with that, let me know as soon as possible. We then have the resources, the instructional materials. I'll let you go through those. I'm going to scroll down and go to the categories, and I want to just touch on the categories of grading. We've got the discussion forums, the quizzes, the assignments, and the homework. I suggest doing this for this class and any other class, approaching the class in this format. One, get 100% on the discussion forums. You want to aim for 21% of the 100% of that 21% for discussions, because we have the most control over the discussion questions, and so we want to get as many points as possible, therefore, in that section. Then get as close to full credit on the assignments as homework as possible. There can be a lot of it, but it's still something that we have a lot of control over. And if we can put in the time, we'll be able to get as close to full credit as possible. Then go into the quizzes with as many points as possible. We have the least control over the quizzes. And therefore, if we go into the quizzes with as many points as possible, we will be able to safeguard ourselves in the best format. So that I would say that's the optimal way to go through this. Try to look for 100% of that 21%, as much of the 33 and 13 as possible, and then go into the quizzes with as many points as possible. Back to Moodle rooms. Going to scroll down to the current week that we are in, which is week 1. We have the familiar layout we've seen in prior courses, that of the objectives, the topics, and then the lessons. Remember that we will be using an ebook. And let me just scroll back up. We're going to be covering chapters 1 and 15 to show you that we do need the setup process. So make sure that you're setting up McGraw-Hill. You're going to use this information here, and this registration will help you set up if you have not worked with Moodle rooms in the past. You want to go to this icon up top. This is going to be the McGraw-Hill. That's the publisher. We're going to be using Connect software, which is the software we're using with McGraw-Hill. And once you get this process set up, then I'm going to go to this tab. It'll look like this. You'll have these 5 weeks laid out, and this will be the information we will be going into week 1. And your book will be over here on the left-hand side, on the right-hand side. Note that you can read the text going through these Learn Smarts and read through a text portion of the book, but it's a little bit more restricted. This is a great tool for jumping to particular areas within the text related to a particular problem. But if you just want to read through the text, which I highly recommend we do, I suggest doing that with the ebook because you have a lot more resources. You can highlight things, you can navigate around a bit more easily there and put in notes and things like that. So although this just looks like an icon over here, this is the ebook. Make sure to go through that and go through that here, and you can also read some of that text over here in the week 1. Going back to Moodle rooms, scrolling back down to week 1. We then have the lessons here. We're going to be covering chapter 1 and chapter 15. That's going to be Thinking Like an Economist, a bit of an introduction to economics and economic thinking. And then we'll talk about spending income and GDP, gross domestic product, which is one of those major concepts when we think about macroeconomics as opposed to microeconomics, GDP is one of those key terms that will come into mind thinking about the economy as a whole, trying to measure the economy performance as a whole. We're going to have some other resources here, so you can click on these resources and go to them, and this is going to be a YouTube resource. You can also go here directly if you don't want to go through Moodle Rooms and just copy the link and go through there at a later point if you so choose to. So we have 2 of those, and then we have the audio lectures. These are designed to be audio only. So if you go to these items, you can do these while, doing chores or while taking a walk or something like that. They're not designed to have the visual. So that's on, this is called SoundCloud, this website. If you wanted to get these on your phone and you couldn't get them on SoundCloud, you can also see if you can find those. You should be able to by going to iTunes or Stitcher, depending on the type of phone you have. And maybe I'll put those links up top in case you want to do that. Then we've got the other resources we got to get done. Everything we need to get done is from the discussion forums on down. Discussion forums, remember, worth 21% of the grade. You want to make sure to pick up as many points, 100%, hopefully, of that 21% if possible. The way to do that is we need at least 4 posts. I recommend posting more than 4 times to make sure that we pick up full credit. The points do accumulate upwards, and so more posts can give more points, but don't necessarily or generally will not decrease any points, and therefore more if you don't get to full credit in the minimum of 4 posts, it is possible to do so with more posts. In order for a post to add content or get more points, then it needs to add content that's relative to the topic. It needs to be somewhat new content to the discussion, adding value to the content of the discussion. If you copy and paste anything, remember to reference it, what you've been copying and pasting, and don't plagiarize. And to get full credit on any particular post that you copy from, then you need to paraphrase it in your own words and or discuss if you agree with it or not. And we're talking about economics. There's a lot of stuff out there that people will be arguing about. This is a topic that doesn't have full agreement on. So the discussions as to whether we agree with a particular idea or way of thought within some of these concepts will be relevant. We then have the assignments, the homework, and the quizzes. Remember that most of these assignments will be done up here in McGraw-Hill's Connect, but although most of the assignments are done in up here McGraw-Hill's Connect, they're not all listed up here in McGraw-Hill's Connect. So for example, of course, the discussion forum is not in McGraw-Hill's Connect, it's here in Moodle Rooms, and I believe this homework here is going to be here in Moodle Rooms as well. So note that this section here is where you want to check everything off, because this lists everything, including these 3 assignments, even though they are done in McGraw-Hill's Connect. McGraw-Hill Connect does not list everything out that is not done in McGraw-Hill's Connect, even though most of the work is done there. So, in other words, you want to make sure to go to Moodle Rooms, check everything off, whether you're doing it here in Moodle Rooms or not, making sure that you don't miss anything in that format. So that said, these 3 items are going to be up here in McGraw-Hill's Connect. I'm going to scroll up here, click on McGraw-Hill's Connect. If you have any problems, once again, getting in here, please let me know as soon as possible. Going through this, we've got the Learn Smarts, and we've got the assignments and the quiz. The Learn Smarts are going to be jumping through the book, and going through multiple choice questions are really good for picking up like test type questions, and they're going to be formatted so that there's going to be a certain amount, around 30 or so. And if you get them right, then it'll decrease the amount that you have to keep doing. If you get them wrong, then they will just keep repeating until you finish them all and get them all correct. So if you do finish them all, you're not required to keep going to get more points, but you can keep working on these Learn Smarts in order to study for the test. It's a good way to study for the test. These types of assignments here are usually more real-world type assignments, and they're going to be in a different format. And so take a look at those types. And then we've got the quiz. Of course, the quiz is going to be due by Sunday. Make sure to take the quiz by Sunday. It's a multiple choice question. We are not able to open the quizzes due to charter college policy past the due date on Sunday, where we do have a little bit more leeway typically for assignments and homework. Therefore, if you run into a time constraint, pick up as many points on the quiz. Yeah, a 10% is better than a 0%. Pick up as many points on the quiz, and then go back and pick up late work if you have to at a later time if it's available to you, knowing that any late work will be reduced in points in accordance with charter college policy. Going back to Moodle Rooms here, scrolling back down, that's going to be it. And then we have the homework. Make sure to jump back over here and pick up that homework that is in Moodle Rooms and not in McGraw-Hill's Connect. And this is just referencing the quiz that will be in McGraw-Hill's Connect. Note that the gradebook is up here on the left-hand side. It's going to be that green icon up on the left-hand side. The grades, I have until Wednesday after each week to get all the grades completely updated for the prior week. I try to get that done around Tuesday around noon. Therefore, Tuesday around noon, you want to go into the gradebook and make sure that it has been updated in accordance with what you believe it should be updated to. And of course, you've been tracking everything throughout the week, and you're just going to be checking everything off throughout the week. And therefore, when you look at the gradebook, you're going to have a vision of what it looks like, and then just double check it and make sure it has been populated as you believe it should be. If not, let me know if there's any questions. And if there's any zeros at that time, then you want to go in and see if it's possible to pick up any late work. That's going to be it for week 1. So have a great week 1.